we are going to be drafting stories together during this next hour. So there's going to be four main parts that we're addressing in this training. First, people make sense of their lives and the world they live in through stories connecting climate to everyday impacts like sea level rise, extreme heat, allergies, migration, and food security. Two, in the activist world, a good story connects with people's hearts and minds and motivates them to join together in action. The story should define the problem, the solution, the urgency, and the possibility of winning in ways that resonate with the experience and values of the target audience and invites the audience to join in on the action, to become part of the story. 3, all good stories have a structure. A good structure for an activist story is challenge, choice, and outcome. And number 4, story of self is a practice that organizers, advocates, fundraisers, writers, and others can use to more powerfully connect with others, and therefore be better able to motivate and persuade others to act. Through the story of self, we tell the story of our work through the script of our own lives, including who we are and why we are called to do this work. Thank you, and I'm going to pass it off to Nia.
Thank you, Sabrina. So hi, everyone. My name is Nia Ogletree. I'm a Gen CLEO strategist from Tallahassee, and I'm currently a senior at Ricketts High School. So I'm going to tell you my story, my personal climate story. Last year, I took an advanced environmental science class, and this was really the first time that I learned about the environment and climate change in the classroom. There is definitely a noticeable lack of climate education in my school and most other schools, even though it's a very important topic. I learned from that class that there was so much I didn't know about the damage being done to our planet from in different ways, but I also had no idea what I could do. I felt like no one cared or even thought about the environment. Then last January, the CLEO Institute actually held a presentation in one of my classes, and I learned much more about climate change and climate action. I felt like my eyes were truly opened and I could finally do something to help. I joined Gen CLEO in February, and since then I've been trying to educate myself, my family, and my peers about climate change and action that we can actually take. Now, I've been with Gen CLEO for about a year, and I still don't have all the answers yet, but I've certainly come a long way. So remember this. Anyone can get involved in the climate movement. It is never too late to start. So that's my personal story, and now I'll move into why we tell stories. People tell each other stories for countless reasons. Think about it. When we were children, our parents told us stories to make us laugh or help us go to sleep. When we faced hard times, a teacher or a friend told us a story to encourage us and help us persevere. When a loved one passed on, our family told us stories to comfort us. When we were confronted with a big challenge, a teacher or a coach or another leader told us a story to inspire us to rise to the occasion. These stories have helped us understand who we are, where we came from, why we're here, and what we must do in order to live good lives. Stories have given meaning to our lives. In the activist world, storytelling works in many of the same ways. So a good story moves people to take action, whether that's to speak to friends about climate change, encourage climate action at your job, pressure elected officials, volunteer, even help lead a campaign. Now I'm going to pass it back to Sabrina, who will talk to you about why framework matters in telling your story.
Thank you, Nia. Hi, everyone. I'm Sabrina. I live in Tallahassee, and I'm going to start by giving my story. So my extended family on my mom's side lives in Beijing, so we visit China nearly every year. And every time we visit, I'm always shocked at how much air pollution there is. There's so much smog that you can't even see blue skies. Schools have even been canceled because of really bad smog days, and citizens are wearing masks every day. And one time when I opened a door, my sister told me that breathing the air was like smoking a pack of cigarettes. I was always told about the dangers of climate change, but to actually see the drastic effects of it made the threats feel so much more real. And the situation made me realize what could potentially become an everyday reality if we don't take action now. I began composting at our community garden and switching to renewables. speaking with elected officials and participating in youth movements, and joining the climate fight has made me feel like I'm making meaningful change. So that was my story. And now I'm going to talk about why framework matters when we tell stories. So there are two basic ways in which we understand the world around us and respond to it, through the head and through the heart. Both lead us to action, so we need to tell stories that connect with both the head and the heart. For example, if we tell an organizing story without strategy, it's not driven and it doesn't lead us anywhere. It's like walking blind. It's all heart and no head. But having the best strategy in the world doesn't matter if our story doesn't motivate us to implement it. It's all head and no heart. That's why we say our stories need to get heads nodding and hearts pumping. So why does this framework matter? What would happen if we ignored it? Well, what would happen is what happens way too often in the progressive climate world. We'd give people lots of facts. We'd make a rational argument for the best public policy. We describe in painful detail the political processes and strategies that must be put in play in order to achieve a successful policy outcome. And then we'd bore people. We'd fail to connect with their experience, their values, and their hearts, and we'd ultimately fail to motivate people to action. By applying this framework to any story we tell, we force ourselves to confront and explore realms of personal experience that can be far more powerfully moving than a bare set of facts or a purely logical argument. Thank you all for listening. Now I'm going to pass it back to Nia.
Thank you, Sabrina. I would like to introduce Charlotte now, who will talk about what makes a good activist story.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Charlotte. I'm a CLEO strategist and a homeschooled sophomore in Tallahassee. We're going to talk about what makes a good activist story. A strong and sturdy structure for an activist story is this. Something unexpected happens to a character. A challenge. Then the character needs to make a choice about what they're going to do next. This choice has an outcome, and the outcome has a moral. We see this sequence of challenge, choice, outcome, moral in literature, from the Bible to Harry Potter, from Lord of the Rings to any other book you could imagine. We also see it in history, from Gandhi to King, from Rachel Carson to Bill Nye, from the Arab Spring to Occupy Wall Street. If we empathize with the character, we not only know the moral, we can also feel it. We don't just hear about someone's courage, we're inspired by it and move to emulate it. The story of the character, their challenge, and their choice encourages us to think about our own values and our own challenges, and inspires us with new ways of thinking about how to make choices in our own lives. This is why it's important for you to have your own activist story. In a few minutes, you're going to be workshopping your personal narrative, but remember, there are 4 components to a good story structure. 1, challenge. So my challenge was that in 8th grade, when Greta Thunberg's school strikes went global, I wished that somebody in Tallahassee would organize one of their own. At the time, there were no recorded school strikes for climate in the state of Florida, and I began to wonder if there would ever be any. I knew that the people in my community cared about the climate, so why weren't they holding events of their own? And then I realized that I was one of those people. If I cared so much, why didn't I school strike? I thought I was too young, too inexperienced, and too underqualified to lead a protest. But if I wasn't my hero Greta Thunberg all that as well? So then I had to make a choice. I decided that I'd hold one in Tallahassee. I organized a demonstration and 100 amazing people came. I continued to hold school strikes every other week until the pandemic hit, only taking a break for the summer 2 years ago. So the awesome outcome is that now I feel like I'm an experienced climate activist, and I am heavily involved in my local environmentalist community. Currently, we are working on eventually passing a climate emergency declaration for the city of Tallahassee. My awesome moral, the moral of my personal story is that no one is too young or unskilled to do what they feel is right. You will gain the skills you lack as you go. Everyone does. All you need is an idea and passion behind that idea. So as a recap, in my story of self, my challenge was that no one was bringing the idea I had to life, and I had to realize that I needed to do that myself. The choice that I made was to start a demonstration of my own and just dive into this world of climate activism that I felt unfamiliar with. The outcome from that is that I have learned a lot about environmental activism, and I participated and held a lot of events. I'm even helping to pass a climate emergency declaration. The moral from this, what I hope you learned, is that anyone can make a difference, even an 8th grader. So challenge, choice, outcome, moral. Nia?
Thank you, Charlotte. And I'd also like to thank everyone once again for being with us today. Be sure to jot down a few notes as we go along, just so that you have something to refer to when we're in breakout rooms later and you're crafting your own personal activist story. Now we're going to move on to story of self.
So let's break down how to tell your own story. Good organizers and leaders find opportunities every day to build community by telling the story of why they're passionate about an issue. For example, you can do this when you want to introduce yourself at any meeting, or when you want to inspire your friends and family to act. So for the remainder of the call, we'll develop our own stories and practice together. I want you to consider the choices that you have made in your life that put you on the path that brought you here today. Think about the most compelling choice point. Perhaps it was the first time you felt a part of a community in the face of a major challenge, like right now with us facing the coronavirus for almost a year now. Or maybe it was your choice to do something about injustice for the first time. As you think about this experience, dig deeper by asking yourself the following questions. The challenge. Why did you feel it was a challenge? What was so challenging about it? And why was it your challenge? Now, challenge doesn't have to be a misfortune in your life, and it can be a struggle of your own choosing. Any number of things may have been a challenge to you and could be the source of a good story to inspire others. The choice. So, why did you make the choice you did? Where did you get the courage or not? Where did you get the hope or not? Did your parents' or grandparents' life stories teach you in any way how to act in that moment? How did it feel? The outcome. How did the outcome feel? Why did it feel that way? And how do you want us, your listeners, to feel? The moral. So, what did you learn from this experience? And what do you want to teach your audience by sharing your story? Nia?
Thank you again, Charlotte. So now we're going to prepare to split off into breakout groups where you'll craft your own personal activist story, and it'll be based off of the structure that we've gone over. So make sure that you have something to write with, a piece of paper, and keep in mind that your story doesn't need to be too long. It doesn't need to be perfectly masterfully created. Just keep in mind the story structure. So 1, the challenge, 2, choice, 3, the outcome, and 4 are your values and morals. And just ask yourself those questions that Charlotte just went over. We can go over them again in the breakout groups if you'd like. And so yeah, we're going to prepare for breakout groups.
All right, breakout rooms are ready. I'll open them in just a second. All right, hello. Welcome you all back to the main room. What am I saying? The main room. All right, I think that is everybody. Yeah, nobody's left out in the breakout rooms. Nope, we're good. All right, so you all can take it away.
Thank you everyone so much for coming. I heard so many stories in our breakout room. It was so amazing and so great. And I feel so inspired every time that I join. And if anyone wants to share their stories like in their breakout rooms, like here's a really safe space for all of us to hear it. No worries. You don't have to share, but we'd love if someone would.
Okay, I'll share mine.
Great.
All right, so basically I sort of saw like a challenge or a problem in my community. And that was that like there's so many other people at my high school that are like wondering like, where do I get community service hours? How do I help out in my community? How do I do stuff like this, right? And that problem has sort of been like accentuated during the pandemic because you can't go out, you can't do beach cleanups and stuff like that now, right? So everyone's like scrounging online. They're looking at so many like different resources. Obviously, like CLEO is a really big resource like that, right? But I was thinking like a solution to that would just be making one portal website that could just hyperlink you to different nonprofits in your area. And I live in a pretty big county, so we have plenty. It's just people don't have the time to like literally do like 2 days worth of research and look at all the different nonprofits and all the events. So if there's like a website that could take you to just the county local ones, then I think that'd be really kind of efficient, and that would solve the problem of nonprofits getting volunteers and volunteers finding nonprofits to help out at.
And that would be really helpful too with like sometimes it can be hard to build up like a climate coalition, you know, a group of climate nonprofits. And so to have a website like that would bring people together for sure. Thank you.
Great idea, thanks.
Yeah, I would also recommend reaching out to maybe Gabby or someone in CLEO to help you with this project, because CLEO is all about helping people with their climate projects too.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Thanks, Sabrina. Like, CLEO is a resource for connecting like-minded people together that care about the climate crisis. And if that's something where you want more resources about or input from other organizations or professionals in the field, definitely reach out and we'll connect you with the right resources. I'll put my email in the chat just for you and everybody as well.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Does anyone else want to share before we move on?
I could share.
Great.
Okay, hi, my name is Christy Monville. I'm a sophomore at Miami Northwestern Senior High School. So one challenge I did face with climate change is decision making. After getting all this information, I decided I can't just educate myself and not do anything about it, because what's the point? So I had to make the first step, which was going plant-based. And at first I went plant-based for health reasons, but then after deep diving, I went into animal cruelty, which stems the ethics and morals of being plant-based. And then eventually that led me to how animal cruelty affects the planet and how major corporations such as the food industry and the meat and dairy industry, they emit a lot of carbon and leave a lot of carbon footprint. So that eventually led me from like one step to another. And that's eventually how I got interested into climate change and further educating myself about it. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a wonderful story. Does anyone want to comment on it?
Christy was in my breakout room and it was a really good story, and I had a lot of fun working with Christy to build it. It was really good.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Does anyone else want to share?
I think that was a really good story. Was it really hard, like trying to go plant-based? Because I know that's something you have to like commit to.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, you can go, Sabrina.
No, you go.
Okay, thank you. Well, yes, it was difficult at first, but I think it's easier once you transition instead of going cold turkey. I mean, it just depends who, like, how your personality is. If you're more of like deep dive or you like to take baby steps. So I took baby steps and eventually cut meat and dairy out of my diet completely.
Awesome. I loved hearing your story. That was amazing.
Thank you.
If no one else wants to share, going once, going twice.
I guess I can share mine.
Awesome.
It's not great. It's still like in the beginning process, and there's a part where I wasn't really sure what to write. But here it is. I always blamed officials and older generations for the harm done to our environment, but never blamed myself for never acting on it. I just figured that I was too young and wasn't famous enough to attract attention. Then I started to notice that most celebrities started from the bottom at young ages and started to think about how I should do it. I looked out to many organizations and saw which ones fit me best. I joined Gen CLEO 1 year ago and recently joined Youngo's Ocean Voice as well. Though, one second. Oh, I didn't really know what to write here, but I just said through Jimmy / the school, I also got certified in coral restoration diving, dive against debris, and even became a climate leadership speaker. With this, I have found a baseline for my climate journey and continue to pursue my passion. Hopefully, as I move up from the bottom, others will follow in my footsteps and start their own journey. Through my process, I have learned that in order to pursue a passion, one must start from down low and move up, no matter the support or age. It's kind of weird.
That was a great story.
It was incredibly written. Like, I was like, whoa, it was so inspiring just even from your beginning, and I'm so excited to see what you go on to do.
Yeah, I think so many people resonate with that story as well, because a lot of people don't think that they can do anything. So I love that you took those initial steps and to work your way up from the bottom. It's so inspiring.
And your wording absolutely blew me away.
Thank you for sharing again.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you for sharing. I definitely don't, you started off by saying these stories not ready, it's not good. It's great, and it can only get better from there.
Okay, well, now we're gonna wrap this meeting up. I wanna say that we are asking for video testimonials to promote solar in schools, and we'd love to hear in your testimonials why you want solar for your schools and what you would like your school to do with all the money it saves. And I will drop the link in the chat. We would love to get your testimonial for this one, but also we would also like you to sign the budget for the people petition and also submit a testimonial for that. And this is urging Congress to pass a new round of COVID relief funds that supports the people and promotes climate action by refusing to bail out carbon polluters. And we are very close to meeting our goal, so please get this done. Just talk about how COVID has been happening for a really long time now and how we need this to help support the people and also promote climate action as well. If you can talk about that and submit a testimonial, that would be amazing and so awesome. Yeah. And
is it okay if I add a little context?
yes, go for it.
I just want to add a little bit more about the Resilient Schools bill. So just so you all know, we're asking for testimonials for two separate campaigns, the Resilient School ones and then the Budget for the People one, which the Budget for the People one, Sabrina explained beautifully. And for the Resilient Schools one, I just want to give a little more context as to what it is. So basically, there's a bill going through the Florida legislature right now that is proposing a pilot program to bring solar energy to 5 schools around Florida. And if this bill passes, we can enact this program, bring solar energy to 5 high schools. And then the money that is saved and the way that the resilience is increased and just the benefits overall from doing that for those high schools will be assessed and evaluated. And if it is effective, which it will be, then we will move forward and hopefully bring solar energy to dozens of more schools and create a ripple effect. But this can only happen if we get that bill passed and launch this pilot program. And so this is the reason we're asking for your video testimonials, for your opinion on why solar energy should be in schools and what you would do if your school had solar energy. So yeah, I kind of just want to push that one a little bit extra because it would be an incredible way to start normalizing the use of solar energy in our state, the Sunshine State.
Thank you for your explanation. It was very thorough and awesome. Cool. Those are about it. Do you all want to just mute yourselves and do the testimonials now, or would you like to do it on your own outside of this call?
I have a feeling that those in the classroom might not be able to do it on the spot right now. You might all have to go do it on your own when you get home. Totally fine. Just save the links that we sent in the chat. For anybody else that maybe perhaps wants to do it later or right now, we're going to keep this call open until 5:15. I'll stay until 5:15 if you want to just turn off your camera and turn off your mic and actually film your testimonial now on the spot. Or if you want to do it later, you're more comfortable doing that, that's totally fine.
Absolutely.
But regardless, I'll be here until 5:15.
And if you have to leave now, or if you have to leave at 5, that is okay. Thank you so much for being here and for being a part of this workshop. We really appreciate having you, and we loved hearing your stories.